Are we recording?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's good. I'm glad. This is why I need you guys to tell me what's going on. Welcome. This is Aileen Dashrova. I'm Aileen Dashrova. This is Joe Santo. And this is Lissa Blackfacet. And we have done, Lissa and I have done a couple clips about her son's death from a heroin overdose. And that was 5 years ago, so we hope you get a chance to look at those. And this is Joe Santo, who was hit by a car when he was riding his bike and was in a coma for 28 days. And
that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago. I know. I can't believe it.
I can't either.
Wow. So, and wait. So you were 19?
I was 19.
Yeah, you were 19, and it was August.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
August and September.
I've been told that it was August and September.
Yeah. So our first clip, we were talking about systems and oppression and repression, because we were talking about why people do drugs, why people get involved in dangerous behaviors when they're young adults and also high school students. And we got into a really good conversation we were specifically talking about schools, because for high school students, for that age, many times they're in a school system. There are people who are homeschooled or unschooled. There's lots of different private schools or charter schools, and there's public schools. So it is a system. Being in school is a system. And so we're going to continue our conversation around what that feels like when we are in a system that we can't escape. And Lissa mentioned in our first clip about, she was questioning her telling Darby, her son, well, I know it's not working for you. I know, you're outside in the hall every day for not getting along with your sixth grade teacher, but you just kind of have to do it. We have this thing about school, like somehow, for some reason in this country, you have to get through elementary school and middle school and high school. You just have to, because if you don't, you can't possibly
be anything ever.
Right. And yet, children are trying to get through these systems that are not matches oftentimes for them. And if they can get through them, in our last clip, Lissa was saying, sure, she was invisible. She didn't make a scene. She was probably, the good, quiet girl. But she wasn't having fun. It didn't feel great. She made it through. And Joe, we were starting to talk to Joe a little bit about what it felt like for him. And he was saying that he started getting in trouble in first grade, second grade, and then a stigma was formed. And he was just talking about jumping through hoops, because, it's, as I introduced Joe in the first clip, he lives off script, and that's not a bad thing. And he said, I do improv, and people don't really like that. So
doesn't work in the play of life at all.
Because you're supposed to behave a certain way, you're supposed to dress a certain way, and then we categorize people. We prejudge them. That's prejudice. We prejudge somebody based on what colors they're wearing, what do they have makeup on, do they not, what car do they drive, and we put them in these stories, and then we address them as if that story is true for them, even though we've judged it. We don't even know if it's true or not.
And so the story is their only thing that they are.
Exactly. So for Joe, and the story is the only thing. So Joe showed up. Imagine this, and some of you that are seeing this probably live this, and we want to we wish you were here. We'd hug you on our big couch. Because many of you probably went to school every day, almost every day, at least dreading it, absolutely dreading it. And so for Joe, who was, and I know Joe. Joe's awesome. You're awesome. You're nice. He's got the biggest heart in the world, just all about love and people getting along, and why can't we just have fun in school? And you totally got, let's just be honest, you totally got destroyed. You got shredded. You got just
I got
slammed.
hit by a car moving, I think it was about 35 miles an hour, so that slammed pretty hard.
Yeah, that summarizes your existence here so far.
Yeah.
It's like the climax was actually technically getting hit by a car.
That was the precipice point, and now we're just back over on the other side of things.
So what was it like for you getting up and going to a building, a school, where you knew you were just going to get pounced on? I mean, before you walked in the door, there was a story about you that there was no chance you were ever going to be able to break or change for years.
It was like masochism.
And you couldn't get out. I mean, there's no way you could get out.
Well, I mean,
Right.
I could have dropped out of high school, but that wouldn't have been an effective thing for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So really, yeah, I mean, there was no real way to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, but like, our school, the system of schooling doesn't make it easy to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Plus, where would you go? I guess.
no, and it's
Work in the cornfields. I mean.
yeah, or pay like $50,000 to go to some really nice private school.
Yeah.
Or something like that, and that's not a possibility for people.
Mm-hmm. What did you? So what was your sense of yourself? What was the story you told yourself about yourself because of how other people treated you and you being part of the system?
I'm a bad kid. I'm a bad kid. Like I'm a bad kid. That's how I used to describe myself to people when I'd meet them. I'd be like, oh no, I'm pretty much a bad kid.
Like, so every day you were just like, let me get up and put my bad kid. Like, you probably never took your bad kid like uniform off.
I wore a bandana for like a year and a half because it was bad kid clothes.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me feel more comfortable being a bad kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't make me more accepted as being a bad kid. It just made me slightly more bad.
Right.
But like, at least I accepted the fact that I had a stigma to myself.
Yeah.
But it's not like it felt any better.
Right. You're like, at least I'm going to be out there. Yeah, I'm a bad kid. I'll be a bad kid. Like, look at my bandana.
Like, I look like a bad kid now. Oh,
I
yeah.
still felt terrible. Yeah, I look like a bad kid now. But instead, I'm like super nice, and can't everyone just love me and help me learn?
Yeah, I'd rather just have fun and chill out and relax all day, and learn some cool stuff.
Right.
But hey, I can act like a bad kid. That's fine. It's always easy. Not at all.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Missing actually, this is a funny point. Why in middle school did I get a perfect attendance record when I was suspended for 30 days?
So, okay, can I just... That is an excellent question.
Yeah.
But can I go back to this? You were suspended for 30 days in middle school?
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool point, bad kid.
What?
Yeah, what was that about?
It was a lot of... There was a good bit of me swearing in class.
Okay, so that was your way of acting out swearing.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, it was also me just not liking the way things were done and the way I was being respected.
Or not respected, right?
Well, that was the issue.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I got respect from my science teacher in middle school. Yeah, that's it for middle school, really. And then one time I did get suspended because I actually just walked out of school. You get suspended for that, assumably.
Where were you going?
Home. But they looked all around the school for me. Seems rather odd to me. Like, oh, you guys looked all around the school for me. Yes, no, I wouldn't have just walked home like I said I was doing.
Right. Well, see, but this is the thing. They expected you were a bad kid. So a bad kid, you should have been out like, stealing potato chips, smoking cigarettes. Instead, you're like, I just want to go home.
I want to go home. I want to go home and make myself nachos, which is exactly what I did. I got home and I made nachos.
And you probably, knowing you probably told them exactly what you were going to do.
No, I very...
You probably didn't say nachos.
No, I didn't say nachos. I remember leaving the school telling my sisters, like, I am leaving and I'm going home and I'm making lunch because I'm hungry. I'm eating food.
And
they searched around the back of the school for me.
Let me ask you the most important question. Were the nachos good?
I liked the nachos.
Okay,
I mean, you can't really have a bad day when you've decided to just walk home from school and get nachos for yourself.
Yeah. And was that one of those, once I think was that one of those, you can't do that, and you're like, watch me. But you weren't like defiant. You were like I actually can. Look, I'm walking. Like.
Well, the whole issue was actually I was getting in trouble right before lunch was happening. And I was very hungry.
Yes.
I'm an Italian. When we get hungry, we get
exactly.
angry. If we don't get food, that's a bad thing.
We share that, yes.
Yeah. So I told her that I either want to go to lunch or I'm going home. And she said that I couldn't go to lunch. So I said, okay, well, I'm going home. She said I couldn't go home. And I said, well, watch me, I'm going to. And then I left the office and then left the school and walked home.
And had nachos.
Yes.
And that helped your little Italian grumbly stomach.
Yes. Granted, the 30-minute walk back to home didn't make it feel great. But getting home and eating those nachos felt wonderful.
Yeah, and so that's the off-script part where, talk about not understanding childhood development, right? You're like, hello, I'm little, I'm hungry.
Different.
I'm different.
I'm different. I know that's weird, but I'm not perfectly like everyone else.
Right. And you know what? I would say most people watching, I would say most people would say we're different than that guy, than that girl, than that guy.
It's how well do you adapt to that system. And
That's
like I was
right.
saying, I adapted really well, from the outside.
Right.
But I felt like there was no one else in the world who thought like me, felt
Yeah.
like me, were interested in the things I was interested in, and yet I passed.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever, I don't know.
Because you knew not
why,
to walk home and get nachos.
Yeah, it was different. I was a different kid, but I would agree with that. I think most of us feel that way, and you were out there and weren't. I mean, in a way, it's. I don't want to say lucky for you. It's not a matter of luck, but maybe you had more ultimately resources. I'm not sure what to say about that, but that you didn't adapt to that means that you were truer to yourself, and it was very difficult. It was
had
hard.
more random gusto, just boldness.
Well,
yeah.
yes, and but I do think to the point. I think that most people feel like that. People that you thought were the popular kids or the stars or the ones who got all the accolades,
they don't actually feel happy at all.
No. And I think that's the point of what we're trying to say.
Right. Everyone's
how
depressed.
Dysfunctional our systems are.
That's right. We're isolated. We send these children to be in a school where we say it's a community, but the majority of them feel very isolated. Like I'm hearing you say, we think different. We're different than them. We're not like them. Well, we don't even know what everyone's like because we're so busy acting in a way that we're either protecting ourselves and being defensive.
We're all being false.
You're all being false in order to try to survive a system.
That's a perfect way of putting it.
And then we want people to be true, but we're all acting false. And that's the stigma that we all place on each other to act false, but we want truth. But if we place a false stigma on each other and we want truth, all we're actually going to end up with is still falsity.
Exactly.
Just like, oh yeah, you do look pretty, but actually in your head knowing they don't.
Right, and expecting. Here's one of the stories, and I've written about this in my blog. For me, I didn't. The gender thing was very confusing to me. I was like, I'm just a person, and I just want to do what I want to do. And when I was in 4th grade, I was being made fun of because I didn't have a pocketbook. And I was like, I don't even remotely connect to needing a pocketbook. But I figured, all right, I'll give it a chance because all the boys are making fun of me. Because apparently in 4th grade, if you're born with a vagina, you should start carrying a purse.
I did not know that you needed a pocketbook in 4th grade.
Well, you know what? Back then you did.
Okay.
But only if you were a girl. Apparently it was connected. So I went...
Definitely was.
4th grade pocketbook.
Exactly. So I went home and I said to my sister, who was 2 years older, who very much was into a more feminine lifestyle than me, and she had lots of pocketbooks. So I said, Leslie, can I borrow one of your pocketbooks? Because I'm thinking I got to survive 4th grade, so I apparently need to have a pocketbook because I'm a girl. So she handed me this pocketbook, and I swear it looked like a suitcase. The thing was so humongous.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this. I opened it up. I'm like, this is like a big cavernous thing. What do I even put in here? So I snooped and I looked at my mother's purse and my sister's purse, and I was like, well, a comb, which I don't even use because I don't really care, and tissues. So I put a comb and tissues, and I'm like looking at this purse going, all right, I got to put more in here. This is like ridiculous. So I used my brain, and Joe and Liz, I know both of you can relate to this, and I said, well, apparently, if you're bringing a big bag to school, it must contain stuff that you really feel you have to have, because why else would you bring it? Like, right?
Yeah, you put.
Why do we not have common sense? So I was like, all right, well, first of all, I don't use tissues, nor do I use a comb, but, what could I'm like, well, I have this awesome basketball card collection. Like, I had like 200.
Yeah.
I collect them. They were awesome. So I'm so proud that I'm now going to be a proper 4th grade girl and have a pocketbook, and maybe I won't get tooled on. So I've got my pocketbook.
Your basketball cards in there.
Exactly. With a comb and a tissue and my basketball card collection. So I'm like, beep, beep, and I put it on the back of my chair like everybody else. And plus I'm like, this is the stupidest thing. Like, it's just like hanging on me. It's bothering me, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to fit into this system. So then I go to the bathroom in the middle of the day, whatever. And oddly, when I came back, my teacher, Sister Gertrude, who was super cool, she wasn't in the classroom. And I'm like, oh, that's sort of weird. And then I look over at my desk. All over the floor near my desk is my basketball card collection, shredded, just torn up and shredded. And luckily I had this sense, I don't know why. I mean, it obviously was not an affirming thing that happened to me whatsoever.
No.
But luckily I just didn't really care about that. I just looked, I knew the two kids that did it, and I said to them, so-and-so and so-and-so, pick up my basketball card collection, put it on my desk. And so they scooped them all up, and my desk was just like covered with these things. And then I just like pushed it into my purse and went home. And then obviously I never brought a purse again. And so, that to me is just like a perfect, it was just like an awkward, weird thing. I felt forced to carry a pocketbook, even though it didn't make sense to me. Then I used it in a way that, I must have to have
and then
something
you
I
felt
wanted.
brutally, like, hurt by it.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't get this. I can't win. I bring a purse. I bring it with stuff I think I'm supposed to have. And then I'm being made fun of or teased because I have boy stuff apparently in a purse when I should have had lipstick or something. I don't know. So it was like,
grader with lipstick though.
I don't even know.
That makes me uncomfortable personally.
Yeah. Well,
like,
but we don't want to judge.
Okay, that's just me then.
Okay. So I know. So. That to me just summarizes what happens to us. And that was just one day that we're trying to fit in. And Joe, you said earlier, what it's like when people are saying, well, jump through these hoops. And you're like, well.
I don't know where the hoop is.
Exactly.
I don't know where the hoop is. And if I knew where the hoop was and you told me where it was, I'd probably think it's a stupid hoop to jump through.
Mm-hmm. If you could even say, well, that's like,
yeah.
Well, this was just peer pressure of having a purse. But I have to say, in my school system, I was supposed to act. I got yelled at for running around and jumping off stuff. I was told, you have to jump rope. The girls jump rope, you need to jump rope.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, I don't want to jump rope. That's kind of boring.
There's one way to be.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And I'd have to say, Darby didn't end up taking my advice to jump through those hoops either. He did it his own way. He did manage to graduate from high school at the 11th hour after conferencing with his teachers. He brought his average up from something like a 30 to a 70 within a week.
Wow.
But this is another thing. Yes, you're smart. He's smart. That was never the problem.
Exactly.
And he didn't go through those hoops either. And I'm not sure he saw them either. I was just in this mindset that this is what you have to do, and then this will be back of you, and you can live your life through it. And it was.
But it would be a burn. That
it was not.
Still had,
Yeah.
I mean that for me that's my issue is that my mom.
I agree.
Talks about that, but it's but it seems like something where I'm just taking an iron and giving myself a branding.
Yeah, right.
That's excellent.
And I don't want a branding for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
You're right, and I didn't understand that. I don't think I understood
point.
that as his mother, and I think you're right.
You're talking about conditioning, and so
even
though it's true, you have this belief well, I'll just get through school and then I can live my life. But when you've been conditioned and you've been stigmatized,
the life they told you to,
and
right.
I do think you're right.
In reaction to it,
yes, it hurts you. It damages you as a child.
Mm-hmm.
It damaged me. Mm-hmm. It damaged all of us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And listen, when you said in one of our first video clips, and this is so awesome because this is really what I was hoping we were going to get to. Lissa said in one of the clips when we were talking about drugs, she said, you want to feel good. Mm-hmm. People do drugs to feel good. And so, hello, if you have to get up every day and know you're the bad kid in town, right? Or your basketball card collection is going to get torn up because you felt like you had to bring it in a purse, or you're silent struggling and you're invisible even though you're miserable, again, thank you. I think we're saying something really, really important here, which is I knew we would get to this, which is there is probably, and I don't think we need to do a huge study here, there is probably a huge correlation between how oppressive a system is, how we're conditioned to believe we're not good enough. All the suffering that we go through, not to be seen, we don't even know where the hoops are, what hoops, ouch, I can't get through that hoop, but you have to.
Oh, yeah.
A direct relationship between that and drug use.
Absolutely.
And alcohol use.
And it can be any drug of choice. It may not even be something
Ice
you
cream,
consider a
video
drug.
games,
Exactly.
gambling,
Exactly.
sex.
You want to feel good. It's as simple as that.
It makes you happy.
Yes, and you like you said, you internalize that oppression. You know, you internalize that you were the bad boy with the bandana.
Yeah.
Darby acted in all kinds of different ways. He did it another way, but he was doing the same thing, and there needs to be. I mean, it just makes sense that to go from A to B. That's
Right.
Whatever the drug of choice is, whatever your solution to that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
internal
A reprieve.
feeling of just an unbearable pressure.
Yes.
So
Yeah, unbearable pressure. Well, I'll just sit for a second. Everybody who's watching this, let's be real here, which is what we do. The feeling that every day you get up and you just suck, that you're just terrible at life.
You're just a sack of shit. Or sorry,
Oh, it's
you're,
okay.
you're just a sack of nothing, and you're not worth it to be there.
Yeah, you're not worth it.
I think that's the bottom line.
You're not
I
worth-
really do. You're
Not worth
you're
living on this
right.
planet. You shouldn't have been born. You
Exactly.
shouldn't be here.
It's
Because you get in the
it's
way
that.
of the script.
Yes. Throughout all of my schooling, so many teachers be like, "But you just make things so improper, and you make it all wrong." It's like, because I don't work the same way that everybody else does. That's wrong. Okay, thanks. You're kind of being really mean.
Yes, exactly, Joe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing is that the ones who do make it through, they're supposed to take away the lesson that you're only good if you produce.
Exactly.
I mean,
yes.
That's the
like-
only time you're ever good.
Right, but that damages everybody.
Produce to
the
somebody
winners
else's
and
criteria.
the losers.
Yes.
To
It's-
somebody else's criteria.
It's never to your own
Exactly.
criteria. Because
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because if it was to our own criteria, that would be art.
Yes.
Weird.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yay for art.
Yay for art.
Yeah.
Yay for art. All right, so I think that we made our point here very well.
We'll try to have the sensors working next time.
Because Liz is getting ready to punch the button. Because you're getting ready to do the button, right? But this is, again, all real, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. All right, well, thanks for joining us, and we got more clips coming your way. And now you can do the button.
Yeah.